You're listening to The Pulse on AMI Audio. I'm Grant Hardy. A first of its kind festival will soon be celebrating accessibility and inclusion right in the downtown Toronto core. It's called AccessFest. It will be hosted by AccessNow, a platform and app that provides accessibility information for public spaces, venues, and locations. AccessFest is also a celebration of the company's 10th anniversary. The event takes place on May 31st at David Pico Square and is free. Attendees will have a chance to have an immersive experience. Here to tell all about the festival is Maayan Ziv. Maayan is the founder and CEO of AccessNow. And Maayan, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
I just want to talk firstly about AccessNow and your role. Can you tell us a little bit more about the organization and what inspired its creation?
Yeah. So I started Access Now 10 years ago, which is wild to think it's been that long. But it also feels like it's just happened so quickly. I'm a wheelchair user. I've always kind of navigated the world with access needs. And, at the time, I was really struggling to find information about places that I could do, things that I could do that were actually accessible. And I was studying my master's. I was learning about digital tech, thinking about different types of startups, and there wasn't really anything geared to solving my problem. So I just decided that I would be the person to do that, solve my own problem. And the rest is kind of history. We grew really quickly because my problem is not just mine. Many other people need access, and it's really become a community-based effort. So we share information about all different types of accessibility on all different types of places all over the world through our app, Access Now app. And it's both a combination of crowdsourced efforts, it's municipalities and different companies that are contributing data on their locations in collaboration with expert mappers that actually go out and test whether or not elements of access are actually usable. And it's just been an amazing 10 years of growth and lots of learnings along the way.
So I think a lot of people, with disabilities, we have this paradigm, not paradigm, but we feel a lot of times like a priority is navigating the street network, like getting from A to B. But then once you get somewhere, you realize there's also this whole aspect of indoor spaces and activities, whether they're accessible. And, what's the point of getting from A to B if you get to B and then it's not accessible? So Access Now is not just for the street network, but it's actually indoor and outdoor spaces and accessibility of infrastructure once you get somewhere. Is that kind of the idea?
Yeah, it's really, so we actually thought about it working backwards. So really it started with the places themselves and what you would experience when you're at a location. At street level, yes, how do you get in? How do you access a space? But also what's good about it inside? And that could be anything from, the way that you navigate within the space to the lighting and sound levels. It could be digital payment systems and whether they're actually going to be accessible, whether you'll be comfortable showing up with your guide dog or service animal. So there's a really broad kind of way that we look at access and usability, and it's really not based on code. Although we know and use codes and standards as like the benchmark, it's the starting point, because even when a place says it's, let's say, compliant, we know that that's not necessarily an enjoyable or usable experience for folks. So the goal is really to create as much information about what people can expect when they are someplace, and also to invite people who might want to contribute their own perspective to that conversation as well.
Comfort, attitude, all those things not talked about in a building code, of course, but critically important for especially venturing out to new locations. So as we are coming up on your 10th anniversary. Can you talk a little bit about, just how it feels and how the organization has grown over the past decade?
Yes, it feels really interesting to be at this moment in time, especially as a lot of the rhetoric and the discourse about inclusion and disability inclusion has really been threatened in many places, many
Mhm.
conversations. And, in the US, we've just seen such a backlash on the importance of disability rights. Access Now very much started out of this desire to see access manifesting in the world, and it had that energy of advocacy. We went on a tech journey. We built a company that focuses on using technology to reach people. We, through that, built a network of people who cared about what we were doing and wanted to contribute their own expertise, and in that learned that really, that core, that kind of energy of creating change and sparking conversations and inviting people to actually do something and not just talk about it, was really core to the DNA that Access Now started with. So to be here 10 years later and starting a brand new kind of chapter, you could call it, in Access Now's journey, feels very full circle because it's still rooted in that beginning spark of inviting people to show up and learn something about accessibility if they don't know about it, or actually do something instead of just go, that's nice, and kind of go about their day.
Yeah, you never really realize how vulnerable accessibility is until it becomes sort of a cultural shift between acceptance of DEI versus sort of like a cultural pushback. So I guess that's kind of part of your DNA, like you said, is you just cannot rely on somebody else to do this for us. Like we have to be building and maintaining our own services. That's kind of the idea.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also not 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 be okay with that change. It
Mhm.
no real grassroots human change didn't come without some real advocacy, and it's up to our community, to vocalize the importance of accessibility, to ensure that people know that we're not going anywhere and that our rights are rights and not nice to haves. So I think, we've thought a lot about how do we have that conversation in a way that's welcoming and brings people into what we know is so true, without scaring people. Because I think a lot of people who don't know or think about accessibility think that it's like this weird, icky legal thing.
Mhm.
And although, yeah, that can be part of it, it's also just awesome. And so for people to get that sense of the wonder and the magic and the empowering qualities that, quite frankly, the disability rights movement has granted the rest of the world,
Mhm.
we really want that message to come through.
So, one way that you're really creating change and moving things forward in a very bold and empowering way, I'd say, is through the Access Fest. Can you tell us a little bit about the festival and the philosophy behind it?
Yeah, so Access Fest for me feels very much like a 10-year story in the making. Uh, in my journey of building Access Now, I've been given the opportunity to travel all over the world and speak on stages and attend events, some of which have been accessible and some have been less so. And typically in those conversations, accessibility is a moment in time, it's not the main event.
Mhm.
And we always have to kind of, find our little corner. Or, the alternative, you're going to an accessibility conference or a trade show, which in that case, you're probably showing up because you're in the space already. You're already doing the work, you're meeting colleagues, you're connecting with folks. Access Fest is an opportunity to take all of the power and celebration and advocacy to the streets and invite people into a very public celebration of accessibility and inclusion. It's a chance to definitely raise the profile on the things that we care about, the things that we want people to make sure that they know about the importance of access and inclusion. But it's also a moment to just be and not feel like you have to apologize or ask for an accommodation. Accessibility really becomes the center stage.
Yeah, reading the press release, I think so many people with disabilities, certainly myself as a visually impaired or partially sighted person, however you want to call it, um, so many phrases jump out, like knowing that I deserve to take up space at an event, uh, attending an event just because I want to, rather than sort of like, oh, I don't have anyone to go with to work on the accessibility needs, or I don't know if this is going to be accessible at all. Versus this event, which is designed to be barrier free. Can you tell me a little bit about, well, first of all, who do you hope will come to the event?
Everyone. We built AccessFest first and foremost for the disability community. It's for folks that, just like you mentioned, we have to always plan ahead and think outside the lines and consider whether or not the events that we want to go to are even going to be accessible before we get there and enjoy. All of that becomes a non issue. This event has been designed to be accessible and hopefully also inspire people to think about how they can, for themselves, run events that are truly barrier free. And it's year one of many years to come for Access Fest. So we're going to learn and get better every year. But beyond that, it's people in our networks. It's the general public are invited. So it's public, it's free, it's open, it's in the middle of the city of Toronto. So anyone who's interested is invited to be there. And that's also how we're putting out the call. All are welcome, because every person has both an opportunity and I would say a responsibility to be part of an accessibility movement.
What are some of the ways that the festival will be designed in order to be barrier free?
So there are a lot of things that go into it. Of course, looking at the built environment in terms of pathways, um, making sure that this was even a place that was easy to get to was a big consideration. What is public transit like? Is it something that would cause a lot of obstacles for people to show up? We've looked at things like, captioning and sign language interpretation for all of our programming, whether it's on the main stage or in any other activation on site. We have actual interpreters that'll just be available on hand, for example. Um, we have cited guides that are also going to be on hand. So if you just want a bit of additional support to navigate through the space. And we also have a pretty comprehensive access guide where everything is listed out in advance. So there's no question marks. There's no, oh, what is this going to be here or not? We're letting people know in advance. And if we've missed anything, we really want to hear from people as well.
Brilliant. So let's talk a little bit about some of the very full schedule of events that people are going to be able to anticipate at the festival. You've got an interesting fireside chat between yourself and Stephanie Cadieux, Chief Accessibility Officer of Canada. Can you tell us a little bit about what we can anticipate surrounding that event?
Yeah. So Stephanie and I will be on our main stage in the morning during more of the opening ceremony. The conversation, as with everything with Access Fest related, is have a real open and honest conversation about where we are. To talk about the strengths that Canada has to offer when it comes to accessibility inclusion, but then also some of the challenges. Like, what are we up against? What do we need to be doing or thinking about? Stephanie Cadieux has traveled all over the world, spoken to, companies and governments on all different types of access related issues or policies. And really, it's just a chance to get kind of really close to her and understand what her perspective is like as she's now reached her 3-year term in office as Chief Accessibility Officer for Canada.
That's going to be really exciting to be a part of that. And there's going to be also quite a lot of artistic performances and comedy at the festival. Can you take us through a little bit of that art side of things?
Yes, of course. So the main stage as with the majority, if not all, of the spaces that we've created, are disability representative. So all of our talent is identifying with disability. This is the stage to amplify disabled talent. If there's going to be one event that's going to do it, it's going to be us. So we have some incredible disabled talents lined up. For example, Courtney Gilmore. She's an amazing comedian. I've had the chance to see her a few times, and every time she just leaves me cry laughing. So I'm really excited for her to be on stage. We have Matt Maxey, who is an ASL workshop performance artist. He's going to not only lead us through ASL interpretive songs and how do you actually communicate that, but then also give you a chance to actually learn as well. And Matt Maxey is really cool because he's had some really cool experiences. He was the interpreter for Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance.
Mm.
He's been on some red carpets. So he brings a little bit of stardust with him. We're really excited to have him. And then we've also got like some great musical acts lined up. So Martin Deschamps is coming from Montreal. He's like basically a rock icon in my mind. Really excited for him and his band to be performing. And Matt Mack as well, who won CBC Searchlight competition. He's a blind Indigenous rapper, music producer, recording artist. I'm so excited for this lineup. We have some really, really great talent.
Oh, that's really cool. Very, very jam packed and exciting performances coming up. We also have, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's called the MAP Mission Tours. Can you tell us a bit about what will be taking place with those?
Totally. So, MAP missions actually take us back to the beginning days of AccessNow. Initially, they were grassroots meetups where people would just come together in a certain neighborhood in a city, and we would actually take an hour or so, maybe longer, and map out the accessibility in the area using the app, the AccessNow app. We've run map missions since 2015. We've run map missions with school groups and with companies and also just with our own communities. And we've done them all across Canada. And now we're kind of continuing that legacy. They're really fun opportunities to go for a walk, stroll in the neighborhood, discover what elements of accessibility are right around us, and also give people a chance to learn if they're not fully aware about what accessibility is like in the built environment. It's a chance for folks to kind of show up and not just talk about accessibility, but actually experience it for themselves.
You're also going to have a sensory tent that people can check out. There will be a snoozling room. I feel like a lot of us have maybe heard of that, but don't know exactly what that is.
Yeah, so the sensory tent or snoozling inspired space. Again, we thought a lot about what are some of the things that have been really great that accessibility can offer us in an experiential manner. And a lot of people really enjoy those sensory spaces because they're calming. It's really about gentle interaction, light, sound, textures. It's really a chance to kind of bring things down a notch. And they can be great. They can be great for folks, yes, that are neurodivergent, but also for many other people. And so, in line with our thinking, we want to invite people to discover, to learn, to think about ways that accessibility really manifests for people, and also to come away inspired and think, "Oh, that's really cool. Like I really enjoyed that." And for us to not be siloed or boxed into categories of like, if
Mhm.
you're this person, you need this thing, you go to that room. But for everyone to have a chance to see how accessibility benefits everyone.
So basically, they're going to be different like sensory experiences that you could hear or touch or sort of interact with. Is that the idea?
Yeah, it's not a huge space. It's really just to give people a sample or a test.
Yeah.
There's also our chill zone, which is a bit of a different thing. It's more removed away from the majority of the festival action, but gives people a chance really to just kind of take the pressure down. They need a quiet moment. We also have that.
So we also have unfiltered talks. What would be taking place with those?
And unfiltered is something that happened organically. We planned for main stage. We knew we were going to go out bring out all the stops. We want big lights, big talent, show stopping moments. But we also realized that part of creating allyship and having deeper dive conversations about how do you create disability inclusion in media, how do you nurture the next generation of disabled leaders. These are conversations that we need to unpack a little further. So, Unfiltered is our space for unfiltered dialogues. There are firesides and panel discussions that are happening throughout the day that give people a chance to kind of dial in deeper on really specific themes.
That's going to be great. And what's also cool to see is you really have gotten some participation from the mainstream as well, such as the Toronto History Museum is going to have a pop up at the festival.
Mm-hmm. So the Toronto History Museum pop up is really about, again, bringing other elements of accessibility kind of into the public space. A lot of the time when we think about history museums or exhibitions, we think about people kind of, strolling through spaces and looking at the art. This is a chance to kind of experience art through a tactile way, to actually be able to touch things and understand the shapes and the lines and the spaces of objects, to give us another dimension of what it means to experience art.
And is there anything else you'd like to highlight? I know we've covered a lot of ground, but for example, we have this is actually very ambitious as well, but and very cool is the garage. Do you want to talk about that or highlight anything else will be taking place at the
Sure.
festival?
Yeah, I'd say we're covering a lot of ground. The goal for year one is really to invite people to try something new. Uh, I tell people this is going to be like a festival, like unlike anything you've ever seen before.
Mhm.
But at the same time, it's also a festival like a festival should be, with lots to do, with downtime, with moments to engage with folks, to try different things. The garage is for folks with mobility devices. It's being hosted by Motion to come through, maybe get a tune up, maybe get an oil change, whatever you need to do. Again, it's to bring these conversations out into the open, to do things that kind of engage people to act, as opposed to just kind of be passerbys. So if you've got a mobility device that you would like to get looked at, we're doing this right here live in the garage.
Where can people find out more information, or do you have to sign up to register, or how exactly can people attend?
So Access Fest is totally free. Everyone is welcome. And to learn more about how to get engaged, whether you want to show up as an attendee or a volunteer, or you're just interested to learn more, just go to accessfest.ca.
What are your dreams when you think about the future of Access Fest, maybe expanding or doing this on an annual basis? Where do you hope to see the festival in next year or in a few years?
Well, what we're really excited about is that Access Fest is in partnership with the City of Toronto. And we've joined the official summer festival lineup that happens here in Toronto. And we're here to stay. So this is year one of hopefully many incredible years that get bigger and better every year. And we're already planning for next year. So I'm really excited about this kind of next chapter, and hopefully everyone who shows up just has a great time, and gives us that feedback on what they want to see for next year.
Do you have any thoughts on how we can shift the paradigm for other events? It's always tricky, sometimes you just have maybe an indie artist who, maybe doesn't have a lot of control over their venue versus, sometimes you have a really big event and they haven't put any thought into accessibility. So I guess just general my rambling is to say, how can we shift the paradigm so that people with disabilities will attend the events that they want to attend?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, truthfully, these are some of the conversations that led to Access Fest. It's really, you know, I don't, well, I know why, but it frustrates me deeply that disabled people don't get the credit we are owed. We
Mhm.
are often carrying so many more roles than the one that we show up to play. Whether you're a performer or you're working within a team or you're an advocate or you're a family member or literally whatever hat or role you're playing that day, you're probably playing like five more, just to make sure that it's accessible or that people understand or that you're communicating, or there's this disability tax. And I
Mhm.
think when we hide that, or when we just play it off like it's expected or it's status quo, we do ourselves a disservice, but we also do others around us the disservice of having the chance to learn what could be different. So, I think anytime that we have the opportunity to raise our voice or provide feedback or share or express an opinion on how things could be more accessible, um, that's an opportunity to spark change. And yeah, I mean, not every moment you want to do that. Sometimes you just want to go and grab a cup of coffee. You don't necessarily want to be an access warrior. That's totally fair. But for moments like Access Fest, our goal was to do something so big and so bold that it inspires people to really understand how we can show up and be intentionally accessible and intentionally inclusive to the disability space.
Yeah, I think that just actually being able to get out there to a fun event as well, I think will really inspire people to use their voices in the future when there are those other events, just because you're a little more used to just attending an event and having fun after this. Really appreciate the work that you are doing. What's coming up next for Access Now? Anything you want to touch on?
Well, this is the next journey for
Mhm.
us, is really to be bold and unapologetic and claim that space that we talked about. And Access Fest is really one of the largest ways that we're doing it. So hopefully this is the start of something that many people are excited to be a part of. And similar to the nature of, co-creating with the disability community, our goal is to create something that people feel proud of, feel ownership over, feel that this is reflective of the future that we want to see, which is one that is disability inclusive.
Maayan, good luck with the festival. Thank you for the work you're doing, and thanks for joining us on The Pulse.
Thank you so much.
Access Fest is taking place May 31st at David Pico Square in downtown Toronto. And for more information, don't forget the website is accessfest.ca. The Pulse airs on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on AMI Audio. You can also catch The Pulse on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Grant Hardy. Thanks so much for listening.